welcome back to the ANS Way. You're with me, Selena and Anton. I realise we don't actually say our names that often in our videos, and I think a few of you have mentioned that, so I thought I would do it in this video.
I don't think it was that important.
Yeah, I think people like to know our names.
We could say whatever, and they'd have to believe us.
We're telling the truth. My name
Although
is
it's
Selena.
on the website, so...
It is now, but... Anyway, so today's video is going to be a continuation of the video that we previously had done on how to move to the USA. And the reason we are doing this is...
Because people are stupid?
No?
We're doing it because people keep asking us questions about how to get the visa, and the majority of them are things like, can I just fly there, find a job? Stupid, no, you can't. What other ones do we get?
Kind of like just advice, and I think with the last video we had given an introduction, so if you haven't watched that video yet, we do recommend going back to that video because we do give the basics on the types of visas, non-immigrant, immigrant visas. But what we have found with some of the stupid questions, some of them are really ridiculous, and that's why he's saying that. Some of them are that, can I just go there? No, you can't just go there. But what we have found is that there's kind of like two categories of like buckets of
They're
people.
actually not stupid, I'm being silly, because if you've never travelled one, you're not going to know the way that you can get to countries, and we did cover this in another video, but anywhere you go that isn't your home country will usually require a visa. And now if you've never had to leave, or the countries that you're going to are part of a union like the European Union, you probably never thought about having a visa. So they're not really silly questions, and I definitely wouldn't have necessarily known when I was young and asking that question. So they're generally around, can you just land here and find a job? And that's what we're hopefully going to cover off.
Yeah, and on the subject of like the kind of categories, what we found is you're either of, and I say like younger generation, where you're either at school at the moment, at university or about to, or you're much older, already have a job, profession, and you're looking for a way. And we realised with the last video that was kind of like a broad video on just understanding visas and what you need. So we decided we're going to do a couple of dedicated videos on how to get to the USA, targeted at
this
those
one for young people.
Yeah.
So those
the young'uns.
Yeah, those in university or just starting out in their career, and then the next video will be for people older, probably established in their career in a company, maybe with their family, maybe already got a home.
Commitments.
Yeah, so it's the commitments, and it might seem like it's the same method of getting here, but there's lots of things that you have to consider, especially when you're older and more established, I would say.
First of all, there's no favouritism. There's no reason why we've picked the youngers first.
No, first of all, you need to like and subscribe because I'm looking at our analytics, and again, it's over 50%, maybe even 60% of people watching are not subscribed now, and we are this close. So if you can do us a favour, just click the subscribe and the like button. The like button helps other people see it, and the subscribe button helps us.
Yeah. Very true.
That's number one.
But number two is, if say you're younger and you're looking at this, first thing is time is on your side. So the first thing about the younger you are is the longer you have to establish your path and how you're going to do things. So the first thing I would say is be patient, because a lot of the messages that we get, whether it's through YouTube or Instagram, is very much, how do I go now? I'm 16 years old, I'm going to go to university, and as soon as I go out I want to go to the USA, which is great. I think that
the enthusiasm is great, and I honestly had that enthusiasm. The first time I landed in Florida, I was like, I could just pack up and leave. I'll be there next week. You're like, slow down. And bearing in mind I was 14, I think, and it's taken until I was 34.
Many years
to actually get here. So that's a 20-year journey. I'm sure we could have shortcutted it, but as we've mentioned before, and we'll mention again, there's certain things you want in place, and you want to be established in certain ways if you're already established in your career and you've got a home. In this case, for the younger people, it's a lot easier. You can kind of pre-plan your route.
Exactly, and you can decide, whereas it's a lot harder once you're much older with a house, commitments, children, to then completely change your career. So when you're younger, just remember your time is on your side and just be patient. I know 34 probably seems like an old person to you, but when you get there, you'll be super appreciative that you've kind of just planned things out in the right way.
And you'll make it their way before then. If you plan out and you're just leaving school or just finished your A-levels or just going into university, you can get there much quicker, and we'll get into some of those points.
Yeah, so one of the first things I thought we would cover is, do you actually need a degree to go to the USA?
But, I mean, do you need a degree is a good question to ask yourself in life in general, even if you're just watching this video without. The answer is always no. You don't need a degree. It's probably a great starting point for a lot of people, and it also opens some doors that you won't have open if you do not have a degree. So the categorical answer is no, you don't.
No, and I would say, where Ant is a very firm no, I say not necessarily.
Sounds like no to me. Were you speeding? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Well, is that yes or no?
It's just about working out what's best for you. As an example, the visa that we are here on, an L1A, and while I do have a degree, did I need a degree for that visa? No. An L1A does not require you to have a visa. And look, Ant is here with me. Does he have a degree?
No.
No. So do you?
And I will be employed soon enough. And do I need a degree? No.
But it's just something to be mindful of. So you don't have to have a degree, but it's about just deciding what makes sense for you. The only thing I would say is there are certain types of visas. So if you do start working and your work is looking to transfer you, there are types of visas that do require you to be degree level educated. That might change with time. The other thing is, like, my green card process at the moment, they're requiring that my employees
which is quite funny. So
degrees.
you wouldn't need a degree to be the employer. You're not, because you're not the business, but the hiring manager. But your employees would need degrees. It doesn't really have an effect on us being here, but it does have an effect on in what light the green card application is looked at. Very confusing and archaic. But the answer to the question is no, you don't need one. But even in my opinion, it will definitely help.
One thing I do recommend, so if you are really serious about the move to the USA and you can afford this, and this will probably depend on how wealthy your family are. Because the easiest option, and I honestly do know so many people here in the USA, this is how they have got here, this is how they're working and living. They came to study here. So if you've got enough money, the best thing to do is just study in the USA, and then from that you can then get a job, and then you don't need to really concern yourself with what career, job, pathway. Just pick a field, study something that you enjoy, want to do, and that's the easiest way. It's
again, it's another one that, broadly speaking, will get you here anyway. If you have enough money, you can come here, whether you're a student or not. For us, that was never going to be an option. We don't come from families with money, so you're probably going to have to go down our route if you're similar to us. If you come from money, or your family have enough to sponsor you to study at the hundreds of thousands of dollars per year universities here, you'll find it a lot easier. And you're also then going to make contacts that will be employers that will probably phone you up and go, did you fancy a job? And you're already there. It's one of the easiest routes. Money makes everything easier.
Yeah, and I would say some of you might have heard about the scholarships that you can get in the USA, and I believe my niece actually got funded, was sponsored,
or at least partially
funded on a scholarship. The issue is, though, you still need a lot of money in order. So unless you get one of these amazing, extremely rare scholarships where everything's paid, you still need money.
You could potentially, and this scales up and down, you could be on a $40,000 a year scholarship and still need to find $40,000 a year to maintain your living and all of the extra stuff that you need to buy. So scholarships are amazing, and if you're half rich, it's probably the best option, but it still can be very expensive.
Yeah, we're just putting it out there. So if you can ask mum and dad to do that for you, go ahead. Let's assume you can't encourage your aunts and uncles to fund your education in the USA. You have to stay in the UK or anywhere else that you're trying to go from to the USA. The next step is picking the field industry that you want to acquire skills in. So this is whether you are going down the degree route, or perhaps you are going to go straight into working like some people do, and that does work. Which industry should you be looking for?
I know which one you would pick. For me, anything technology based, and for people starting out or young people starting out, technology is a massively broad field. So don't just think computers in the real tangible sense. You can think, like Selena, medical technology. So you might have a 100% medical degree that you've been working in a hospital, but you can branch out into a field of medical technology. So if you've got a good aptitude for tech, go to a company that does medical technology, get on that side of it so you can get into it. Or somebody like me, I come from a more traditional hardware networking Citrix background. That translates really well into the modern world as well. So you can go, if I wanted to, into hardware, or I could go into software applications, SaaS, that type of technology.
Yeah, so anything, so I think we mentioned this in the other video, STEM, science, technology, engineering and medical. Anything in those fields, because they tend to always be evolving and innovating. So those fields, there's always opportunity where those industries are growing. So it's a great area to go into.
There's currently not enough people. Even here, what was really surprising, you think Las Vegas of all places, there's not going to be that many jobs. There are literally hundreds, in the mid-hundreds, 300-400 jobs that I'm seeing where they're crying out for technology people. And I'm guessing there's a lot of people moving their offices or being based out of Las Vegas.
Say the same thing actually. Because of the pandemic now, the technology companies aren't just in Palo Alto.
Or Seattle.
Yeah, as an example. So it's everywhere now. They're in Austin, they're here in Vegas as well.
So they're generating a lot of new jobs for those local areas. And one of the really shocking things for me was salaries. So it's a massive... People that are watching this from the UK, you are all horribly underpaid. Horribly underpaid and overtaxed. So, as you'll know, if you're looking at a 40 grand job coming out of university or a good few years of your career, that's quite a good achievement. You feel pretty good about yourself. Here, that's not even the janitor. So they will happily pay you 150,000 for an equivalent job here in the US, even in Vegas.
Yeah, so, I was actually just having this job. We're about to hire somebody in the USA, and the hiring manager is going to be based in Germany, and she was saying to me, what's the salary? And when she heard the salary, she was really shocked. I said, yeah, you'll just learn in the USA, any equivalent salary is always more in the USA.
In a lot of cases, literally double or triple. It's not uncommon to see 120,000 job for what you would expect to get paid 40,000 in the UK, and you'd pay a healthy sum in tax on that, whereas here we're on that 24.6%. So it's amazing. So a really good set of fields to get yourself into, whether it's via your degree or whether you just want to start out as somebody at the bottom level and work your way up over the next 5 or so years. At least then you have that history of working to show when you apply for a visa.
Yeah, and don't forget, let's say because after we done the last video, we had a number of people that mentioned that because I questioned some of them on, okay, what's your degree in? There was marketing, there was law. It really doesn't matter. Even if you've done a degree in marketing, sales, business, whatever it is, you can then choose to go and work for one of these industries. So don't think that your degree has to be science or technology based in order to go into one of these fields.
No, it's more about, it wouldn't be called the activities, but the job type that you do. You can, like you said, you could go and do a history degree, but you might be the head of some department within a technology company, and you will still be able to get here with that type of work history. So it's less about the specific degree and more about what you're doing and what you can bring.
Yeah, so definitely do not let it discourage you if you feel that, oh no, my degree's in this. It's about the industry, the company that you end up working for. One other thing that we thought we would throw in there is do you have an extraordinary ability? And we say this because when we came to Vegas, people thought, well, first of all, people thought we were here for performers, probably because of how Anne looks. And because a lot of people here come on an O visa, and this is for people of extraordinary ability, usually athletes, actors, singers. So if you do happen to have one
generally
of those,
the arts and the sports, I think it covers. And if you have got that, really try and push it, because if you can get noticed by somebody that wants you out here to generate money for them, it's not the easier, because you have to be exceptional. So it's a very narrow. But if you are, you stand out. They're going to want you. So if you are good in the arts, even if you play the cello really well, you could come out.
That's really random. You thought the cello of all the things.
Because it seems such a random thing, and it might be, my only skill is playing the cello. Well, be the best cello player.
Yeah, exactly. So, and we have met so many people that are here for so many different, like climbing.
So lots of different.
You don't have to, like, if you're listening to this thinking, damn, I hate those industries, can't be in the tech company, science. You don't have to be. This is probably one of the most common asked questions around people that are doing their degree at the moment, or even people that are just about to go into work. It's, can their first job out of university be straight away in the USA? Is that likely to happen?
Very unlikely.
Yeah.
Very unlikely. Not impossible, because you could be employed by some amazing US company who might decide to sponsor you, especially if you did, like Selena said, educated in the US, maybe did an internship, and somebody said, great, we'll sponsor you. But I don't think either of us have come across that scenario.
Never known anyone personally that has gone to university and has straight away ended up with a job in the USA. That being said, I'm not saying it's not possible, and I think in this world where it's far more connected, and if you make some great connections, maybe do an elective where you get to go to the USA possibly, it's possible.
I'd say it's less likely than the other example I gave, where you run a business at 16 or 18.
Yeah, I mean, in answer to that question, I wouldn't bank on it. Definitely try, contact people. I would never discourage that, but I wouldn't say plan it based on the fact that you think that's going to happen.
Well, let's ask you the question. If an 18-year-old... No, how old are you when you leave university?
I think it's 20...
22, 23?
Yeah, around that, depending on
if they reach out to you and said, I've done this degree, do you want to pay for my visa to come? Yeah, so there you go. Because the risk is so massive.
Because I've got to think about how I look. If I go to, I just want to bring this person over. No, I mean, you're going to have done something very exceptional to have caught my attention. Well, extremely exceptional. But if you were that exceptional, you'd be that person running the business. There's
one of the things tied in with the commonly asked questions is something that people on the other end, so if you're in the UK or another country, don't necessarily understand, and we've mentioned this before, is the expense a company goes through in order to sponsor you, move your family, land you, give you something for the next month while you're here, and then potentially pay for your green card. And the associated risks are very, very high, even for companies that are making a lot of money. This isn't something where just the hiring manager goes, oh yeah, I'll just take 100 grand from my budget. You're going to have to get it signed off at every level, because it's an expense that's going to be notable on the balance sheet. So it's very unlikely unless you've done something extraordinary.
Yeah, and so I mean, in that case, you are much better off choosing those right companies to work for and building up a network, building up your skills, making great connections in that company, and then being transferred. That's the likely route that you are going to get to the USA. It might not be in the first year, 2 or 5 years, but you can definitely make that happen.
Which is the original point of, you're going to have to be patient in most cases. There's obviously going to be exceptions to all of these rules, but in most cases you're going to have to be patient with building up that network, building up that trust, creating those relationships with people that want you out in the States, so it's easier to work with you. You're not going to build that relationship in 6 months. You're going to build that relationship as you move through the company and build up the equity in that company, and then they want you to move out.
Yeah, and actually you've just reminded me of a link to that. linked to the same question of can I just move to the USA and get an employer straight away, is also the other question we get is, can I self-sponsor?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
You cannot self-sponsor unless assuming you're not entitled to the visa in the first place, in the sense of a relative or you're marrying someone that's a US
Which
citizen,
is an entirely different
thing.
scenario.
If you are banking on an employment-based visa, you cannot self-sponsor it. You cannot be paying for it. You can't even tell the company, in fact, I'll cover the costs.
Yeah, that's something that came up
There's legalities
recently,
around that. So the company have to be completely responsible of bearing the costs and everything in transferring you over to their
Yeah, and the simple way to look at it is that it's literally in terms of sponsorship. So that company is taking the responsibility of saying, we trust this is an upstanding person that is here to do what we've said. We are going to fund it and we are going to back it. Kind of like if you take out a loan but you need your parents to, I forgot the word in the UK, we call it co-sign here. I'm telling you to American, what is it? Guarantor. A guarantor in England.
You know, we'll do another video on that. Slowly, we're forgetting like the
English
terms.
So where you're a guarantor, so you might have reasonably good credit as an 18, 20-year-old, but when you're going to buy a home or take out a car, often companies will say, well, no, I want somebody with a longer credit history who I trust, and then they need to sign on it. It's a very similar type of scenario for immigration. They want a big company to say, yep, we're co-signing on that person.
Part of all of these visas, there are rules in terms of who you can bring across. So part of it is them also establishing that there wasn't another local person, because one thing about the US, and it's the same for the UK in fact, with any of these immigration laws, and when you bring someone for employment-based purposes, you have to show that there wasn't somebody local, so you can't just be giving away local jobs to
foreign nationals. Yeah, which makes complete sense to me. Employ locally first if you can. Why outsource a job that somebody 10 minutes from the office could have done? Makes no sense.
And this is a really key point when you're younger. Really try and think from the beginning about the impression you're making in the company, and you can determine that because you're at the beginning and you can do that. Do not be that person that is bringing low quality work, disruptive, hard to work with. You have to play the game, unfortunately. It's the only way I can put it. Yeah. If you don't like it, then I think you're going to have to figure out another way of doing it.
Oh, visa.
Work on those extraordinary abilities, but you're going to have to play the game. And it's a lot easier when you're younger than somebody, let's say you're much older, already been in the company, and people have already made up their mind about you, and then you're trying to change it. If you can go in and excel and be impressive, you've already created that impression of yourself from the beginning. And remember, it's not about being as good as other people, it's being better. It's not good enough to sit there and go, oh, I can do their job as good as them. No, that's not enough. You have to show that you're different, that you stand out, that you...
And there's lots of ways. So that doesn't mean, it definitely doesn't mean work longer hours.
Oh, yeah.
Be more efficient. But I would say one of the absolute key things for younger people, especially going through university, is understand networking with people.
Yeah.
There should always be, and it's in some ways it seems quite transactional, but it isn't, because you build those relationships. But there should be something that people are getting from you and you're getting from them. It's a two-way thing. You build that up, and as people progress through their careers, and they're going to want to take you with them, or you're going to want to take them with you.
And I would really, that point, I have now through work established all the people that I always want to work with, given the choice, and people make up their minds very quickly. Yeah. That's what you want. You want people to want to take you along, because a manager that wants you will find the money for you, trust me.
As we found out.
They will do it. So, and if you're in a situation where somebody is not, then they're not the right person for you. You need to either kind of figure out how you're going to change their mind about you, or find someone else.
Yeah, or find a different team or a different thing that suits you a lot better. But yeah, it's the key point is networking over, I just work really long, I work really hard, and I work really long.
I'm there all this work.
I'm there from the earliest to the latest. That will go noticed, but it'll be notice of poll that person the work, because they'll just keep doing it. It doesn't necessarily mean they look at you and think, that's an efficient person I want to take with me.
The best way to describe that is work smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
Just be really smart about your work. What difference are you making? Are you bringing cost savings, efficiencies? Because there are people that I work with who are great workers. They're like working bees. They're great at doing stuff. You tell them what to do.
Executing tasks.
They're great at that. But and they're great to have, because you always want them around, because you know you can rely on them to get stuff done.
And there's nothing wrong with being that.
But do I think they're amazing? Am I going to ask for extra budget, promote them, take them along with me? No, because I want the person that's going to come to me with ideas and make me go, oh, I never thought about that.
Or those people that go, I wish I could be as good as them at whatever it is. There's loads of times you work with people like, I'm not that good. Like, you know it yourself.
Yeah.
You're like, they are way better. And those are the people that you want with you. So that when you can't do this task or that task, but you might be good at something else, but they're better, that's where the work goes. And you're always going to, because they make you look great, you make them look great, and it works.
It's win-win. And linked to that is just recognizing yourself. Just really recognize whether you're good at what you're doing, and don't try and trick yourself into believing you're as good as you think you are. And it sounds very harsh, but so many people waste their time believing that they're that good, and they're just not. The better thing to do, and this is my advice, if you're coming to a stage where you recognize that you just can't compete with other people seem to be progressing but you're not, the best advice I have is maybe focus less on your quality of work, because maybe you're never going to be there, but maybe you're very likable.
Yeah. So that is. Yeah.
I mean, that in itself is a lot valuable.
Likable, I'd go slightly further with somebody who has leadership qualities, isn't necessarily good at executing tasks or doing anything particularly well. They're not necessarily great at PowerPoint or selling or whatever it is, but they are able to lead and coerce, and people want to listen to them.
They like listening to them.
Yeah,
being with them.
That alone is a skill of itself, which most people don't possess. Most people don't have that thing where you want to sit down and you're able to listen. Like, oh, that's a leader that I would follow. Most people don't have that. So if you have that, concentrate on that. It doesn't have to be you're the best in whatever, the best engineer on the line. That might not be that much value, but you might be the best leader or the best team leader.
Exactly, and all it takes is that one person to really like working with you, and that's all it takes to get them to want to sponsor you. So just recognize yourself and which areas you're going to work on to progress. So that's pretty much it. The main thing to take away from this is you've got time, have a plan, be patient, acquire the skills you need, make great connections, the networking, target the right companies. And with that, we've said this in the last video, Apple corporate, not Apple store. Be realistic as to where you're working can transfer you over to the US. So think about Apple corporate as opposed to the store that you're working in.
Or not the Toyota dealership, Toyota corporate, which would be able to transfer you out to Toyota America. You're not going to go from selling the car in a dealership to Toyota phoning up your local branch to go, can you send me over James, please, from the dealer. It's just not a real thing.
But as long as you've got a plan, be patient. It's definitely possible. Don't be discouraged by it. So this is our dedicated video for you young'uns out there. We do have more information on the website, which is?
It's theantselway.com. Or if you're Selene, the W, the Ant World, because you can't.
You would think I would know how to say our own website, but there's
she manages it.
Yeah, there is more information on the website too. And our next video is going to be for the older folk who have more commitments. I'm going to put a lot more thought into that, because it's a bit more complex when you're older, when you're trying to figure out how. But we are going to do a dedicated video for you guys too. And as Ant said, if you haven't subscribed yet, which by our count is 50% of you. At
least 50% of you.
Please do subscribe and let us know what you think of this video. Comment below. Thank you for watching. So I turn that around on you.